They laughed at the warning. 1,000 ships strong, the Ashantar Dominion came to burn Earth to ash. But humanity didn't beg. Didn't plead. We just said one thing, leave. Now. When they didn't? The stars dimmed, ships vanished, and the galaxy realized why Earth has no allies, because it doesn't need any. This is what happens when you ignore a human warning. They came at dawn, not on Earth, but to the far edges of Sol. 1,000 ships, dark as murder, encircling the sun like vultures over a dying god. The Ashantar Dominion had arrived, confident and hungry. For them, Earth was a primitive marble in space. Its silence was mistaken for weakness. Its solitude for surrender. Threxcor stood on the obsidian bridge of the Oathbreaker, the largest war carrier in the invasion force. His armor gleamed, etched with the names of the 37 star systems he had conquered. He gestured toward the shimmering blue sphere displayed before him. This world will fall before the second moonrise. Let them tremble under our shadow. His command crew hissed in agreement, but the transmission panel blinked. A signal from Earth, barely encrypted, short and dismissive. This is Earth Command. You are trespassing in Sol. Leave now. This is your only warning. Silence followed. No bravado. No diplomacy. No plea. Threxcor snorted. Is that it? That's their answer? He turned to his chief strategist. They didn't even try to negotiate, the officer said. Perfect, Threxcor growled. Begin the advance. Let's make an example of this backwater. The first move was Titan. A small outpost, lightly manned according to their intelligence. A fleet of 10 frigates warped in, armed with kinetic pulverizers. They never reported back. No alarms. No explosions. Just nothing. The command deck fell quiet. Then Europa. Gone. Then Io. Gone. No resistance. No evidence. Not even wreckage. Threxcor's tone sharpened. Are they jamming us? Negative, his communications officer replied. Signal logs stop mid-transmission. As if they were cut off from reality itself. Impossible, said Threxcor, but he didn't sound convinced. His war navigator, a creature bred for calm analysis, stiffened. High Warlord, something is very wrong. Ship locations in Sector Delta, 5 of ours, are not responding. No debris, no escape pods. It's as if... As if what? As if they never existed. No one moved. The stars outside seemed to dim slightly. Continue the advance? Threxcor barked. They're playing mind games. I want Earth in flames before they finish their bluff. Yet as the fleet pushed deeper into Sol, one by one, ships on the outskirts began vanishing from the fleet logs. No lights. No comms. Just silence. An urgent message blinked on the screen. Again no fanfare. This was your only warning. Threxcor slammed his fist against the console. Deploy our dreadnoughts. Form a perimeter around Earth. I want bombardment solutions locked in 10 minutes. His strategist leaned in. Sir, with respect, what if they're not bluffing? Threxcor's eyes narrowed. Then we end them before they reveal whatever trick they're hiding. The Dominion's fleet began to orbit Earth in a death ring, weapons charged. Sol's warmth vanished under a canopy of war steel. But still, Earth did not respond. No shields. No ships. No sign of panic. Then, the ground began to shift. From beneath oceans and deserts, from mountain ridges and city cores, 12 obelisks rose, smooth, black, humming with frequencies beyond known science. Across all Ashantar channels, a voice echoed. Cold. Inhuman. Unapologetic. Protocol Vesuvius initiated. And then they came. The first 300 ships winked out of existence. No fire. No explosion. They simply vanished, leaving holes in the formation like teeth knocked from a jaw. What was that? A weapons officer screamed. Threxcor stood frozen. Report! The AI navigator trembled. Gravitational inversion field, Impossible scale. They're bending reality itself. One more message crackled through the system. Leave now, or the chain will finish what it began. And still, Earth launched no attack. It simply existed. Watching. Judging. The warlord's claws gripped the command rail. Send in the Reavers. All of them. I want boots on the ground. I want blood. Make them suffer. But as the Reaver-class warships broke from formation, a ripple passed through them. And they, too, disappeared. The crew of Oathbreaker fell into stunned silence. No weapons. No shields. No battle. Just erasure. Where's our countermeasure? Threxcor roared. Where's our retaliation protocol? The navigator replied in a whisper. There is none. Whatever this is, it doesn't follow rules. Still Earth made no move to pursue. No sign of satisfaction. No celebration. It simply waited. Threxcor felt a sliver of something foreign crawl up his spine, fear. A new voice entered the feed, one unlike the others. Human. Calm. Female. Confident. This is Commander Ileana Voss, Sole Defense Authority. Your weapons are irrelevant. Your numbers are meaningless. Your war ends here, not because we want it to, but because you forced us to remind you. She paused. The silence that followed was louder than any gunfire. We don't need to fight you. We just need you to understand one thing. Humanity isn't peaceful because we're weak. We're peaceful because we remember what we are capable of. She gave them 1 second to respond. Threxcor tried to speak. No words came. I suggest, she said quietly, you leave. And the signal cut. On the tactical display, the remaining ships began to break formation. Some turned. Others panicked. Chain of command shattered. Protocols meant for planetary bombardments had no answer for nothingness. One final message arrived. Not from Earth, but from the alien observer ship, still untouched. A single sentence, marked as a historical annotation. In all recorded conquest campaigns, the Dominion had never encountered a species it could not dominate, until it found Earth, and Earth didn't even bother to retaliate. Threxcor stared at the planet. It didn't look like a warrior world. It looked calm. Blue. Fragile. And yet it had stared down the largest fleet in Ashantar history, and erased half of it without lifting a single visible weapon. Not through brute force, but through quiet, terrifying control. No one spoke as the Oathbreaker turned away. The war was over. And humanity hadn't even shown its teeth yet. The silence wasn't just unnerving, it was unnatural. Earth had not fired a single shot, not deployed a single fighter. Yet the fleet that had crossed half the galaxy in conquest was shrinking. And not through battle. Through disappearance. Half of Threxcor's fleet was gone, simply erased from existence, with no fire, no wreckage, not even a flicker on the scans. One moment they were present, the next, nothing. Recalculate gravimetric feedback from the planetary field, barked Threxcor, trying to claw back control. I want answers, not guesses. The war navigator's voice cracked. Readings are incoherent. We're seeing mass displacement without energy transfer. That shouldn't be possible. Something from Earth is folding space-time around our vessels. You're telling me they're using black holes? No, Warlord, the navigator whispered. They're worse than that. They're using precision deletion. Selective spatial excision. Not collapse, removal. Like tearing a page from a book, without ripping the binding. The bridge crew stared at the planet below, silent. Then the obelisks emerged. 12 of them, from ocean depths, mountaintops, and polar ice. Towering structures, black as forgotten voids, radiating frequencies the Dominion's instruments couldn't interpret. Each pulsed in sequence, forming a rhythmic pattern. The readings should have been static. Instead, they moved like something alive. An alert chimed. A signal from Earth. Simple, mechanical, and delivered without emotion. Protocol Vesuvius confirmed. Chain initiated. It wasn't a threat. It was an execution order. A second wave of erasures began. Entire formations blinked off the Dominion's network. Ships hundreds of kilometers apart, unrelated by squadron or command structure, vanished as if removed by an editor cutting a sentence from a script. No warning. No pattern. Only absence. Threxcor slammed his fists on the console. Deploy ground forces! I want humans taken from their nests, screaming and burning. They'll never reach the surface, muttered the chief engineer. Every Reaver-class ship that descended has been lost. How? We don't know. The moment they dropped below the magnetosphere, their systems stopped transmitting. Their transponders stopped pulsing. Then nothing. I don't want reports. I want retaliation. Threxcor's voice cracked for the first time. He looked not at his men but at the black spires on Earth. They didn't shimmer. They didn't glow with menace. They simply stood. Another voice broke the airwaves. It was not from Earth's military. It was something colder. I am Echo. I am Earth's final protocol. I am the chain. The transmission cut instantly, yet the name echoed in the minds of every crew member aboard Oathbreaker like a whisper buried in their skulls. A low-frequency vibration that left no physical trace and no psychological refuge. They're using cognitive resonance, someone breathed. A weaponized signal encoded in a voice. Echo spoke again, this time across every ship, every screen, every neural implant the Dominion used for internal comms. You were warned. Soul is not to be entered. You have broken the seal. Action is now irrevocable. Compliance is no longer an option. On the tactical display, the fleet's formation fell apart. Officers argued across channels, sub-commanders issued contradictory orders. Ships began firing defensive blasts into empty space, trying to hit what they couldn't see. Some fled. Most died. A sudden internal transmission from a Dominion scout vessel was intercepted, unencrypted and panicked. We're not fighting a military. We're inside a trap. The whole solar system is designed to be a prison, and we're the ones locked in. Threxcor shut it off. He couldn't afford mass hysteria. Send in the Archons, he ordered coldly. If they've weaponized space itself, we'll show them how we weaponize fear. 3 Archon-class destroyers activated their dread engines and made the jump toward low orbit. Each was a planetary-class destroyer, capable of boiling oceans, of leaving scars on moons. They didn't even breach cloud cover. One by one, the dread engines collapsed mid-cycle. The ships twisted into impossible shapes, flickering like broken holograms. Then they imploded silently. The only thing left behind was their crew's final screams, captured in subspace echo, trailing off like children swallowed in the dark. A third signal came. This is not revenge, Echo said. This is containment. You carry violence like a disease. We are the cure. Threxcor collapsed into his command chair, finally still. The rage in his gut was gone, replaced by a cold, hollow absence. Not fear, resignation. One of his officers whispered what everyone now believed. They could have stopped us before we entered the system, but they let us in. They wanted us here. They're not defending, said another. They're demonstrating. The command deck fell silent again. Outside, only 23% of the original invasion fleet remained. The obelisks had stopped pulsing. A message came. Not a demand. A statement. Your species is fortunate. Earth does not enjoy conquest. We remember what it cost us. Commander Voss's voice, calm and unflinching, cut through Echo's transmission like a razor. We gave you a chance. You spat on it. And now you've tasted the smallest sliver of what humanity can become when cornered. We're not proud of what Echo is. We built it because we were tired of burying children. You tried to remind us of war. So we reminded you of what we built to survive it. A pause. We won't chase you. We won't invade. But if you ever return, if you ever even think of sending another ship toward this system, understand this. The chain doesn't reset. It finishes. Then silence. No further transmission came. No ships pursued the fleeing remnants. Earth didn't need to. They had made their point. They could have destroyed everything. Instead, they erased just enough to send the message. Leave Earth alone. Forever. A silence like this had weight. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of defiance. The Ashanter ships drifted out of formation, commanders whispering orders no one followed, war chants now only distant echoes in empty hulls. The enemy had not fought back. They had simply erased. And still, Earth hadn't sent a fleet. Threxcor couldn't stand the waiting. The obelisks hadn't moved in minutes, but the terror lingered. He turned sharply. If they won't meet us in space, we'll meet them on land. Prepare an insertion assault. I want boots on their soil. Let's see how brave they are when we burn their cities. The command deck didn't move fast. They'd all seen what happened to the Archons. But a few nodded, out of fear of him, not conviction. 5 Reaver-class transports deployed toward Earth. Silent drop. No comms. No escorts. A desperate show of dominance. Threxcor watched the countdown. Then the feed from all 5 vessels went dark. Not destroyed, gone. The telemetry just ended. No trace. No signal. No crash. Just null. He growled, shoving a subordinate aside. Are you telling me a planet without a defense fleet can intercept 5 stealth transports mid-descent without firing a shot? No answer came. That's when it happened. Not on the screens. Not in the data. But in the air. Signal breach detected, muttered the comms officer. A voice, calm and deliberate, rang through every open channel. Have you ever wondered why no one has claimed Earth? It wasn't echo. This voice was human. Warm. But laced with steel. Because we never asked to be part of the game. We let you conquer your little corners of space, let you wave banners and claim glory. We let you underestimate us. Threxcor leaned forward. Identify the speaker. The systems refused. No trace. No location. It was like the voice was coming from inside the ship, but not through any device. The voice continued unfazed. We were born in gravity wells you couldn't survive. We burned in atmospheres that would melt your kind. We fought each other for millennia before you even discovered electricity. You think war scares us? You think we built silence out of fear? A pause. Then cold truth. We built silence out of restraint. That word hit harder than any weapon. Across the remaining Dominion ships, bridge crews listened without orders. Even Threxcor didn't interrupt. You erased our moon colonies once. Long ago. Thought it would stop us. Instead, we buried the evidence, erased your names, and built something beneath our crust that could unmake you. We never used it, not because we couldn't, but because we didn't want to live in a galaxy where war was the only language. The voice lowered. But you insisted. In that instant, 3 ships near Mars twisted violently. No weapons fired. Their hulls crumpled like paper under invisible fingers, then compacted into spheres no larger than a man's fist. Silence followed. Even the screams had no time to escape. That was when they arrived. Not Earth's navy. Something worse. 3 dark figures materialized aboard the Oathbreaker, unannounced, unscanned, not transported but manifested. They moved with precision, walking without urgency, dressed in matte armor that bent light unnaturally. One placed a blade on the neck of Threxcor's first officer without speaking. The officer froze, trembling. The blade wasn't made of metal. It looked like a shard of nothingness, a slice of negative space. Threxcor stepped forward, fury blooming. I am the High Warlord of... The nearest figure spoke. One word. No. And Threxcor dropped to his knees. Not from pain. From weight. His body pressed down as if gravity had multiplied. His lungs squeezed tight. No pressure sensor registered it. It wasn't mechanical. It was something deeper. The soldiers didn't threaten. They imposed. Another stepped forward and tapped a wrist control. Instantly, every weapon system aboard the Oathbreaker shut down. Internal power drained. Shields died. Lights dimmed. The human voice returned, now louder, everywhere. You sent 1,000 ships. Half never left. The rest will carry this message. You've met our patience. Now you've met our deterrent. The blade at the officer's neck withdrew, leaving no mark, but his eyes rolled back, his mind broken without touch. A clean exit. No blood. Just removal. You fought empires, yes, the voice said. But Earth is not an empire. Earth is a lesson. One you now understand. Threxcor managed to lift his head, barely. You think this ends the war? There was no laugh. No insult. Just the answer. There is no war. There's only the mistake you made by coming here. One of the figures opened a portal, a tear in the air like folded cloth, and turned to the other two. They nodded silently. Before they stepped through, the lead one looked back once, directly at Threxcor. You will return. Not because we allow it, but because we let your species live with the knowledge of what happens when Earth stops whispering and starts speaking. Then they vanished. Systems came back online slowly. Lights flickered. No weapons worked. Threxcor stumbled to his feet, gasping. Around him, his command crew avoided his gaze. One message remained on the command console. We erased only what was necessary. Next time, we erased the idea of you. No signature. No origin. Just words. And everyone aboard understood something for the first time in Ashantar history. This wasn't just a defeat. It was a permanent condition. They didn't speak of surrender. Not because they were brave, but because they no longer believed in the concept of victory. The remaining Ashantar ships floated aimlessly beyond Luna's orbit, silent, dimmed, waiting for a command that wouldn't come. Earth hadn't responded again. It didn't need to. The last act had been simple, brutal, final. A demonstration. Inside the Oathbreaker, the bridge was quiet. Most screens displayed errors or static. Systems were back online, but nothing felt operational. Everything they touched had weight, like trying to breathe through oil. Threxcor stared at his reflection in the blank tactical display, searching for the warlord who used to live in his eyes. He found only an echo. We still hold orbital superiority, his weapons officer offered weakly. Threxcor didn't answer. 300 ships remain, the officer added. We still have. No, Threxcor said. Not shouted. Not barked. Just said. And that one word made the officer stop speaking. We have nothing. They let us live. That is not a tactical position. It's a warning label. The bridge remained still until a soft chime sounded. One final message. Not intercepted, not broadcast. Delivered directly, discreetly, like a knife placed in a trembling hand. Let this be your memory. This was restraint. The chain ends here. And then it came, an event no Ashantar mind had prepared for. Echo moved again. Not with weapons. Not with gravity. With choice. The remaining Ashantar ships began to shift on the tactical display, not physically, but within their navigation systems. New coordinates appeared in red, unchangeable, forced. Earth hadn't fired. Earth had simply decided where they would go. What is this? The navigator whispered. New jump orders, said another. Not ours. Refuse them. Threxcor ordered immediately. We can't, the officer said. It's overriding manual control. We're being extracted. One by one, the surviving fleet vessels began engaging warp drives. Not to flee, but to be removed. A network of gravitational pinpoints, surgically planted throughout each vessel's subspace navigation core, lit up and dragged the Dominion's warships out of Sol, without consent, without dialogue, without hesitation. Threxcor's knuckles turned pale as he gripped the edge of the console. We're being expelled, he said, the words tasting like ash. They're cleansing the system. The jumps were surgical. Not chaotic, not hurried. One ship at a time, with calculated precision. No damage. Just relocation. This isn't just exile. the chief technician murmured. They've coded the jump signature into every ship. We'll never be able to enter this system again. As if in confirmation, the forward screen displayed a single phrase in bold human script. Access permanently revoked. One of the junior officers began to shake. This wasn't war. Everyone turned. It wasn't war, she repeated, voice cracking. It was a test. We failed. And now we're beneath notice. For once, Threxcore didn't silence the voice of fear. He couldn't. Because she was right. The countdown hit 0, and the Oathbreaker jumped. Not to the stars they knew. They reappeared on the edge of Dominion territory, beyond known safe space, surrounded by dead signal zones. Far enough that it would take years to coordinate another campaign. If the government even dared to try. Threxcore stood, slowly, letting the silence settle. I want every log purged, he said. Every record, every transmission, every scan. But the Council will demand reports. They won't get them, he snapped. They'll get a summary. One paragraph. No tactical data. No proof. He paused. Then added, they'll get a warning. No one responded. The silence wasn't compliance. It was agreement. Threxcore turned his back to the view. From this moment, Earth is forbidden. No vessel, no scout, no message, no probe. If I ever hear of a whisper crossing Sol's border, I will execute the fool responsible myself. But if the Council pushes, they won't, he said flatly. Because they'll know. They'll feel what we felt. That weight? That silence? It will live in their bones. He sat heavily. We thought Earth was sleeping. That we could wake it and find something soft beneath the surface. He looked up. But it wasn't sleeping. It was watching. There was nothing left to debate. Across the galaxy, long after the Ashanter limped back to their black citadels, the message spread, not from official broadcasts, not from reports, but from survivors. From broken soldiers who never found the words to describe what they saw. From engineers who refused to look at Earth on star maps. From navigators who manually routed courses to avoid even Sol's gravitational echo. They didn't fear Earth's ships. They feared the fact that Earth had none, and still won. Dominions fell. Alliances shifted. Galaxies learned. And Earth? Earth said nothing. Not again. It had spoken once. And once was enough. They didn't hold a funeral. The Ashanter did not mourn the dead. They processed loss through ritual silence and strategic redirection. But what returned from Earth was not loss, it was something worse. It was exposure. Vulnerability laid bare, not by force, but by restraint. And no ritual could cover that. Threxcore stood before the Dominion's inner conclave, his expression set in iron, voice stripped of its usual thunder. He spoke plainly, factually, without flourish. We encountered no resistance. No counteroffensive. No battle formations. Earth issued a single warning. When we ignored it, our fleet was systematically dismantled through methods we could neither detect nor counter. Half our ships vanished. The remainder were forcibly displaced. Earth employed an entity known only as Echo and utilized ancient planetary mechanisms capable of spatial control. The room of military minds and ancient strategists fell into a stunned hush. Are you saying, one of the elders began slowly, that Earth expelled our fleet without engaging? Yes. How many weapons were identified? None. How many casualties? No survivors from the erased units. No deaths among those forcibly removed. And their demands? They made none. Whispers erupted across the chamber. Threxcore waited. One voice, deep and skeptical, finally asked, "What is the true threat here?" Threxcore lifted his eyes. "The threat is not what they did to us. It's what they didn't." He let the words settle before continuing. "They erased exactly enough to send a message. Then they stopped. We don't know what comes next, because they didn't need to finish anything. They chose not to." A younger war tactician sneered. "So we regroup. Build more. Return in force. We overwhelmed their silence with fire. No, Threxcor said immediately. You won't. The room froze. The word, won't, had never been used in this chamber. Not from a warlord. They are beyond fire, he said. Beyond intimidation. We sent 1,000 ships to a planet that replied with calm indifference and selective annihilation. What we saw was not defense. It was a demonstration. Then why did they stop? Threxcor let out a slow breath. Because they didn't want to destroy us. They wanted us to live with what we saw. So we'd remember. The conclave tried to argue, each raising different points: pride, vengeance, retaliation. Threxcor silenced them with 3 words. They let us go. He said it not as a confession, but as a verdict. We have no leverage. No advantage. Earth is not an enemy. Earth is a decision we made poorly, and survived only because they allowed it. Later, when the chamber recessed, the news spread. Across the stars, across systems still loyal to the Dominion, a quiet unease began to grow. No declaration had been made. No treaties, no broadcasts. Just a persistent whisper. Earth is closed. Some still doubted. Some called it myth, propaganda, exaggeration. But none dared approach Sol again. And humanity? It remained still. No ships left the system. No diplomats arrived. No message followed. The galaxy expected retaliation. Instead, Earth simply watched. The obelisks buried themselves again. The energy signatures dropped to unreadable levels. Echo vanished from the signal net. The human voice that spoke last had never returned. But for those who survived, their nightmares remembered. Not the violence. Not the destruction. The mercy. It haunted more than any war ever could. Because the humans had said just one thing in the end, before the final disappearance. This was your warning. There will not be another. Years passed. Earth remained quiet. The stars moved on. Wars erupted elsewhere. Alliances shifted. But one region of space, Sol, was always red-marked in every navigation system. Not due to treaties or defense grids. Because somewhere inside, even the most war-hardened species remembered that silence. That moment when the most dangerous thing in the galaxy didn't roar, it whispered. And the whisper was enough. One day, long after Threxcor retired and his name became myth, a curious young captain from a new generation asked an old admiral during training why Earth was forbidden. The admiral didn't look up from his drink. Because we stepped into their house, uninvited, fully armed, and they showed us the door. That's it, the captain said. That's all? The old man chuckled. No, he said. That was just the beginning. He leaned in, eyes narrowing. We were lucky they didn't show us the basement.